Welcome back, everybody, to Around the Table. We have a really fun episode today. It's not really fun, but it can be fun. Like, let's just laugh about all the things, right?
Yeah.
Today, we're going to talk about collaboration versus competition and what that looks like in each of our lives, how we overcome it, how we can choose to overcome it and not participate in competition, but collaborate for the people that we love and those around us.
So good.
So,
Let's go.
let's
Great
go.
topic. Yes,
Who wants to
yes.
start?
Jiff.
Jiff. Seriously, though,
What
you
would
are
you
collaborating.
like me to collaborating?
Yeah.
Okay, so actually what we talked about our last episode was comparison, right?
Yes.
We talked about how that becomes dangerous when we're measuring ourselves to somebody else and we're losing who we are and what our value is, and we can stop hearing from the Lord. It can block that relationship with Him, just hearing from Him and knowing who we are in the Lord, and then it can also lead to competition, and we're going to talk about that today. So I love the word collaboration. Actually, in education, collab is what, I mean, maybe in the whole world, but in education, it's definitely like, we're going to have a collab today, and collaborating with other teachers is a big deal. Collaborating with partners is a big
Right.
deal,
Yes.
because I want to hear your ideas, you want to hear my ideas. We all come to the table with creativity and strengths and gifts, and we want to work together. So I love to collaborate. I love doing things with people as opposed to flying solo. There's times where you have to fly solo.
Totally.
But it's fun doing it with your friends and with a team and with people that are after the same thing that you're after.
Yeah.
So I would say it's part of, being a team and working together for a common goal and a common good. And as kingdom people, we're always wanting the kingdom manifestation, the kingdom goal, the kingdom, whatever. I'm losing my words.
It's okay. We feel you. Tracking.
The promises of heaven and what the Lord wants, the heart of God.
Right.
So, I love this. I love this topic.
Yeah. I think even just like, we can talk about kingdom and all the things. And then there's also this element of, collaboration in business, right? That we can't be afraid.
Brands. We see it all the time. Yeah.
Brands, collaborations with brands. If you want to collaborate with us, go ahead, invite us to collab with you.
Yes.
But seriously, I think people have this mindset that if you shine, I'm not going to shine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a win-lose mentality. And we are just going to do whatever we can to squelch that idea that when, for instance, when Joanne is shining, I'm shining too.
Yeah.
And when Jiff is shining, I'm shining too, and so is Joanne.
Yeah.
So it's not even just about us. We're just using this as an example.
Exactly.
We have to shift the mindset that it's collaboration is a win-lose. It's actually a win-win. And I experience that in business too, when someone has a good idea and maybe I'm responsible for them. Let's go.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be my idea for everyone to succeed.
Right.
Right? So,
because if in the business culture, right, if somebody brings a great idea to the table and it's going to set the business up for greater success, it's a win for all.
Yes.
Right? But it's just in maybe where do you feel like this doesn't work well? Collaborations. Like, where have you seen it not work well?
I've seen it not work well
And the win-lose,
in the win-lose mentality.
Yeah.
I think it manifests itself in unhealthy friendships.
Yes.
In unhealthy relationships, whether that be marriage or most just
Children,
relationships at large.
Yeah.
But it manifests itself, because I'm a woman, it manifests itself a lot in friendships.
Yes.
And then in the ministry world too. I feel like in the church culture even, it's definitely like our current situation in our church isn't this way, but there are a lot of churches in general over the years that I've seen that it's like my vision or nothing. Right? My vision or nothing. It's not a win-win-win. It's a win-lose.
I know. I've definitely experienced that too. And that's why I was asking, because I think, there's so many things that are so different in the business culture and what we
Yes.
experience as, women in business and government and the way people operate versus maybe a Christian church culture. And so it's just interesting, like that dynamic and why that can happen. It's not all the time, but I remember being a part of, similar experience where there was something really incredible happening that was going on during, a significant time in history for all of us, during the COVID season. And it was interesting to me to see churches not wanting to partner with this movement that was happening because it wasn't their movement or it wasn't their thing or it wasn't in their area or it wasn't, it's that thing of, and again, there could be really great reasons why, outside of what I even know.
Right.
However, I thought, wow, this is interesting, that this is happening when, why wouldn't you, right? Why wouldn't you want to jump on board and support and kind of celebrate and champion something really incredible that God is doing
over the
right?
earth?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there can be that win-lose mentality. And I think it does come a lot, like you said, in the relational aspect of our lives, even with, in families and marriages and whatever, it's like, there can be that thing of, wow, like, if they get this and we don't get this, or if so-and-so gets to do this with this part of the family, then we're not going to get to have that with them, and so it's definitely a thing you have to really be mindful that it can be subtle, but it creeps in and it really does affect that thing in us that wants to just clamp down and go, no, this is mine, or this is, I'm going to lose if you win, like you said, or if you get to be a part of this and I'm losing. When it's, instead of going, wow, I want to celebrate. This is something so incredible that you're getting to step into or you're a part of. And in any way I can come alongside you and support you, I want to do that. Right. That's a spirit of a collaboration and a spirit of a win-win. Like, I'm not going to lose because you're shining or you're doing this incredible thing in the school board. I'm actually a part of that with you. And like you always say, when you shine or when one of us shines, we all shine, right? I love that. And that's the heart of, I think, collaboration, or what I think of. There's room for all. Like, I love, there's this book by Heidi Baker called There's Always Enough. And I remember reading it and being so profoundly impacted by that statement because, again, in the spirit of collaboration, it's like, wait a second. If I'm thinking that I am the only person that can do this, and this has to be mine, because if other people do it, then I'm going to lose. That's not actually kingdom. That's not actually what God set up for us to experience. There's abundance. There's more than enough. And there's room for all. So there's always enough. Right?
Exactly.
In business and in areas of work and life and family and ministry, there's always enough. So I love that.
It always starts with the heart. Our response starts with the heart. Our reaction starts with the heart. It's the posture of your heart that matters. And there's either going to be a response or a reaction. And the response should always be, I love you enough to champion you. I love you enough to support you. I love you enough to take you to the next level. Right. And I'm going to walk beside you to do that. And then there's the flip side where people do hijack things from you and people do take things from you. And so sometimes you have to stand your ground and be, kind of what you feel like God's called you to. But that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is collaboration. And let's get to the other side together, or I'm going to compete with you. How has that shown up for you?
I was just thinking, Craig and I were having this conversation about what it is to be a team player. And he grew up playing basketball and he coached basketball, and he would always say, if someone's not coachable or teachable, they're not going to become all that they can be. And I can't, like, as a coach, I can't help form a player that's not coachable.
Absolutely.
And so I just think of, like, when you're collaborating too, there's a humility.
Absolutely.
And there's a, hey, I can learn something from you, and I can even be coached, and I can humble myself and, like, let you teach me something. The second thing, it was like his coach, who's a famous in Orange County. He was a longtime basketball coach in Huntington Beach, Jim Harris. And he had 3 things. It was like, be teachable, be coachable, work harder than everybody else, right? So when you're on a team and you're going for a goal, whether it's in ministry, the goal is whatever is on the heart of God,
Right.
whatever is the kingdom mission, right? But whatever it is, work the hardest you can. And then the third thing was, remember you're on a team, and it's not just about you,
Yes.
right?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
And it's like, there are individual sports. Like, if you want it to be about you, there's golf, there's tennis, there's swimming, but basketball,
No.
it's not going to work.
Exactly.
And so that's the thing. When we are building a ministry or building a business or going after a dream, and we want to do it together, we're all like this, we are doing this together. We are collaborating together. We do it together, and there's a give and take. There's a teachability. There's a working heart. Everybody pulls their weight. And then there's the team win. It's not just about me winning. It's about the team winning.
Well, and I think in that too, that context, there are things that, and this is what I love about collaboration, because, right, we're not all experts in all things, right? That would probably not, you wouldn't probably be an expert in anything if you were an expert in all things.
Right.
But there are things that we need that other people actually bring to us in the spirit of collaboration, right? So
That's really
I'm not a
good.
graphic designer, but if I have somebody who comes in and is a graphic designer, and that's what I need to accomplish my goal, then that is beautiful, because that's a gift that they actually get to bring to the table with me.
Right.
And we get to collaborate together and build something and release something that's, amazing, or, we think is amazing.
Right.
So that, again, it's like allowing other people's gifts to shine is part of that spirit of collaboration. Like, you're good at this and your gift is this, and let's work together to create something and to produce something that's actually really impactful. Right?
Yeah. One thing, and you kind of touched on this, Robin, that I want us to dip in just a tiny bit is, and maybe this is a different conversation, but there is that piece where, especially, I call myself a recovering people pleaser, but kind of those people that are people pleasers, want everybody to be happy. There can be that level where you're like always giving of yourself, always giving over to somebody else's vision or what they want. And I've heard you say so many times, like,
Guilty.
I'm not supposed to give up my spot, right? And I'm not supposed to stop doing what God has called me to do. So how do we balance that? Because we want to collaborate, we want to be humble, we want to work as a team, but sometimes people do override you, or they do try to hijack like what you've been called to do, and we shouldn't give up our spot. And it doesn't mean that it's that balance. We're not like trying to compete, but at the same time, we have to be able to go back and go, okay, wait, what's my part in this? What has God called me to do in this?
Yeah.
And I know for me, I have to go like, why am I getting triggered? What's going on in me? And kind of go back to the Lord and get centered on that. But what do you think about that?
I think it always circles back to identity.
Right.
It always circles back to being, number one, secure in your own skin, and number two, understanding your lane and understanding what you're carrying and understanding the vision that God's put in your heart. And then you move from that place. And then there's this, when you know that that's what you're supposed to be doing, then you're secure in that, and you can invite people into the space. Right? It's when you're operating from a place of insecurity, and you've lost your identity in it, or like your own personal identity, not your identity in the thing, but like the identity of who you are and what you're called to be.
Right.
I think it circles back to that always. Like, you have to be comfortable in your own skin and know who you are and know what you're supposed to be doing, and then everything else flows out of that. If it flows out of a place of insecurity or not knowing who you are and not knowing what you're supposed to be doing, then that's kind of a recipe for disaster. I think
That's good.
That's so good. And I think as a person that is a collaborator, or you want to be a collaborator, maybe like you have a dream in your heart, or there's something that God's put in you that you're supposed to create or do or produce, then I would encourage those ones who bring others into that space with them to make sure that you're not just taking that person's gift and who they are to use it for your own thing or your own you know, what you're about, but actually to honor the individuals that are coming alongside to help you launch something that's really near and dear to your heart. You know, and what does that look like, right? So you have to figure that out, and you have to really honor that that coming together. Because then you're just using people. Then you're just using people for your own purposes, and that's not collaboration. You know,
that's not collaboration.
And then that can move into competition. Because then it can create this mine. Exactly.
Like in Nemo, mine.
Oh my God,
you know,
so
it's
funny.
true, but it's true though, because I think human nature wants to. This is mine. I want to hold on to it. And some things are just meant. Like I can't write Joanne's book for her. That's Joanne's, and that would be wrong and damaging of me to say I helped you write that. You know, that would be weird. No, that's your book, you know, and it's our job as your best friends to say, are you writing today? Are you writing? That's collaboration. That's an example of collaboration. That's an example of how can we help you get to the other side of this, right? That would be weird if I wasn't happy for you. That would be super bizarre.
Super bizarre.
But as we've all experienced, I'm sure there are moments when we have had something really significant happen in our lives, right? And we haven't felt celebrated by the people we thought we would be celebrated by, you know? And so that can feel like, and I would say, like, if that's something that people struggle with, like, figure out, like, what is going on in me that I can't celebrate my friend and what she just accomplished, or what she just produced, or this amazing promotion she got at work, or, you know, whatever she's going here or there, you know, things are happening in her life. That's an inside job. And that's something that we have to be acknowledging in ourselves if we're recognizing we're doing that, or we're struggling to celebrate the other person. I think that's just super important to acknowledge, because we've all been there and we've all experienced it on the other side of not feeling celebrated.
Being a recipient of that.
Especially when you see somebody excelling in maybe the same area that you are gifted in, and you feel called in, and then you're in a season where God is making you wait, or keeping you in the waiting room, or pruning and working, and someone else is getting launched. That's where it gets hard. Is where you're like, oh, I wanted to write a book in 30 days and I didn't, you know.
Well, and that's the shift in mindset, I think, that we all talk about, because it all comes back to, again, like our identity and what we're believing about what God said or what He's speaking to us. Because, you know, if we're not able to champion and celebrate those moments for other people, one, that's just, there's an inside job that needs to get worked on. But also, this happening, like, let's say, for an example, Jeff, you know, you running for school board and winning, right? So if that was a dream in my heart, my mindset, and I would, again, this is like encouragement, like, this is where we're supposed to go with this. Even though I might feel humanly disappointed, like, dang, I wish that was me. Or like, wow, when's my moment going to come? Because that's normal. Like, those are real valid feelings. It's not a shameful thing. That's real. Because it's a promise and a longing in our heart. And so there's that longing for it. But it doesn't mean I can't celebrate you. And it also does, I feel like this is the thing for me, is that I've had to shift over the years, is like, that is actually prophetic for me, because this is what God wants to do and who He wants to be in my life. This is a promise. Your breakthrough, your success, your win is a prophetic promise for me of what God has available to me and what He wants to do in and through me, right?
So if He did it in my life, He could do it in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a long-winded way of my saying exactly that succinctly. But
that's true. It does become, when we can turn it into, instead of like, I wanted that, which we might hide that we feel like that, but we've all felt that way. Then turning it to, you know what, if that can happen here, then that can happen for me too. And what do I'm not there yet. Why is that? Am I holding myself up? Is the Lord keeping me hidden for a while? Is, you know, whatever, do I have the right calling? Do I understand what I'm supposed to be doing? Because then there's
Right.
that.
Yes.
Like people think they're supposed to be in this space, but really he's gifted you for this space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so again, and I feel like all of our conversations going back to identity, like you said,
Right.
knowing who you are, but also that grounding and that relationship with the Lord, where we can go back and go, why is it hurting me? Why am I sad? What is hurting my heart that my friend accomplished this thing? And I want to encourage everybody, I encourage us, let yourself acknowledge the icky things that are actually in your heart. I think sometimes we want to go, I'm not feeling like that. I would never feel like that. And it's like, no, guess what? We're all human and we can feel these things. And I would say some of the biggest breakthrough that I've had is when I go to the Lord and I'm like, wow, I feel jealousy. Like, I feel it. Lord, get it out. Get it out. Or, wow,
Right.
I slandered that person or whatever. Like, it's super hard to admit when the ugly things are actually there.
Right.
But, like, if we can go there with the Lord, He's so faithful to
Yeah.
clean it up. And then it's like, okay, let's go. You know, like, I want to champion you. Where's the Lord calling? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's an
that.
inside job. I think
It
you
is.
said that. You know,
It
it
is.
starts as an inside
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
I can remember.
I also want, I'm so sorry. I have to just shout out because you guys during the campaign, you two were seriously like, what can we do for you? How are you doing today? What, making me a million mugs that were adorable that said Adnams for CUSD and like Joanne knocking on doors and both of you hosting meet and greets for me multiple times, I feel like.
I couldn't do the knock on doors because my back, remember?
We
can.
held, we
Yeah.
held signs too.
Yeah, we held signs.
And you got flipped
we got
off.
the
danced.
They got
cookies.
flipped
Yes,
off,
we
I
did.
think.
We
Yes,
got cookies several times.
We got all the things.
Yes.
Faith of the mustard
But
seed.
you guys demonstrated it.
Yeah.
It was like, this is important to our friend and she needs people and we're coming alongside.
Yeah, it was so
Yeah,
fun.
you
That
chose.
was
It
so
was
fun.
a joy though. Like that was,
Yeah.
I felt like I was on, like those are the moments when you're like, this is so cool because I felt like I was on assignment with you and your assignment. Like
Yeah.
it was such a joy to champion and come alongside and support you and celebrate what God was doing.
Yeah.
And for you, we get to do that for each other. Like
Yeah.
that is such a privilege.
It's easy.
It's super I mean, it's
It's easy.
easy when the heart is right and the identity in ourselves is
Yes.
assured.
Yeah.
And we're good knowing like we can come alongside our friend in this way.
Yeah.
Because this is important. This is
Right.
the Lord.
Okay.
Right.
And even nudge your friend when
Yes.
she's afraid to do it
Yes.
and take the step and go,
Yes.
you're supposed to do
Right.
this.
Absolutely.
I can remember being at an event once and just kind of this was several years ago and just coming out of a really hard time with business. I say that a lot, but it's was a really refining time. And I remember, just for years, just crying out for the Lord to move us from one city to another. And I was at this event and I was just kind of like and it just kind of like, Lord, what are you doing kind of moment. And I heard this lady in the bathroom. We were at the Ritz-Carlton and she was like, I got the house. And the Lord said to me, and I was like, okay. And the Lord said to me, go congratulate her. Mm-hmm. And she's a really fancy lady, super sweet lady. I knew her.
good.
Super fancy, super bougie, all the things. And I was at the kind of in a low spot. Yeah. And the Lord said, go congratulate her. Yeah. And I said, yes, Lord, I will.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I went and we became friends after that. Mm-hmm. But, I just want to encourage everyone to, when you don't feel it.
Yes.
And you're sad.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And even sad for yourself. Mm-hmm. It's not always that you're even sad for yourself, but you just feel sad. You feel defeated. You feel like, what the heck, Lord? What's going on?
Yeah.
Make it a whisper. Mm-hmm. Even if it's like, I'm happy for you and you don't even mean it. Mm-hmm. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the more you do it, the more you congratulate your friends, your people, those around you, the more the Lord can entrust into your hands.
Absolutely.
So make sure that you're collaborating, that you're in it with your friends, in it with your people.
Yeah.
How can you serve? How can you love the people around you? Mm-hmm. The more you do that, the more the Lord will entrust in your hands in your life.
Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, you guys. This was
Good
such a good conversation. We're
good
running
to
out of
talk
time.
about.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining us. We are so glad that you're following along. We really want to know you.
Yeah.
We really want to know your heart. We want to know how this is impacting you, and we want to know how we can pray for you.
Yeah.
Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow along. There are questions in our box in the bio for the show.
Yeah.
There are specific questions that we would love to hear from you on. So thank you for joining us.
Yes.
We love
And
all of you.
We want to remind everybody that we're going to be having an event this July.
Yes.
So just kind of be following us on Instagram as well.
Yes.
We'll be updating you on that.
Yes.
But a local gathering here in Orange County. So we'd love to have you join us.
Around the Table _US on Instagram.com. Instagram.com. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.